What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Markets. My name is Ansel Lindner. Happy Inauguration Day. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are doing well. Um, Mondays is my newsletter day. I put out a free comprehensive newsletter on Bitcoin at bitcoinandmarkets.com. And then I jump on here, go through it. Big news, obviously, is the inauguration. No Bitcoin executive orders or policy announcements or anything like that yet. No free Ross announcement yet. But there is just a few executive orders that have come out, and we'll see as they start rolling out over the next 24, 48 hours where Bitcoin works into that. But we're going to go through the report and just talk through it. If you guys have any questions or comments, put them down in the chat. I am live streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Telegram. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's share the screen and go right to bitcoinandmarkets.com. Bitcoin Insider is the new name of the report. It used to be the Bitcoin Fundamentals Report, but changing a few things up here. Bitcoin Insider number 323. Let's jump into this. Okay, snapshot of Bitcoin, new all-time high last night at about 2 a.m. Eastern time. We went 6% in 20 minutes. We'll cover the price down below. Media sentiment, right now they're distracted, of course. That's totally understandable. Huge change going on, not just in the United States, but hopefully for the world. Earlier today, during the inauguration, I did live stream it on Telegram. That's my home base for my community. And I was saying I have a few things that I would like to see out of this administration, but one of the biggest one probably is setting an example for the rest of the world as well. So, defeating cultural Marxism, defeating the globalists, bringing back some freedom of speech, bringing back some sanity to the world, and hopefully setting a good example for the rest of the world. So obviously everyone's distracted because this is a major shift in not only U.S. politics, but geopolitics in general. So network traffic, there's a slight increase. We'll take a look at the mempool and the mining industry, which is steady. Weekly price at the time of writing was 103,552. That was up $10,500 or 11.5%. And that's issue to issue. So newsletter to newsletter every Monday. Market cap over 2 trillion, 2.055 trillion. Satoshis per dollar under 1,000. As long as we're over 100,000 for price, we're going to be under 1,000 for Satoshis per dollar. It's at 964. One Finny, 1/10,000th of a Bitcoin is $10.37. Mining sector, previous difficulty adjustment was a week ago, and that was 0.5%. And the next SMA adjustment is going to be the first negative adjustment in like 9 or 10 periods here, and that is coming up next week. We'll see if that can turn around, but right now it's dialing in, estimated at about negative 1.5%. Mempool increased this week finally after several weeks of decreasing mempool, 75 megabytes. That doesn't really matter other than it shows something about traffic and demand for Bitcoin transactions, and we'll cover that when we get down into that section of the newsletter here. Fees for the next block, $1.31 at the time of writing, 9 sats per virtual byte, so still pretty cheap. And if you want to wait for about an hour or two to get your transaction confirmed, you can save a few pennies. Now, this will become a big deal. A lot of people that might be new to Bitcoin don't quite understand how these fees work. But we expect as we go through Bitcoin's life cycle and as it matures, there's going to be more demand for Bitcoin transactions. And so fees will go higher naturally. That's a way to block spam on the network. And anyway, so fees go higher. Let's just say fees in the distant future, maybe 20, 40, 50 years from now, they're $100 a transaction or even $1,000 a transaction. I mean, the average size transaction is going to be $1 million, $10 million, not a $10 coffee purchase or whatever. So these fees will go higher. But if you're willing to wait and you can save 50% or something like that on your fees, that's when this discrepancy is going to pay dividends between getting in the next block and being able to wait. It's not urgent. you'll be able to save quite a bit of money if in the far distant future. But right now, 15 cents is not that big of a deal. Um, Even considering, I mean, the average size transaction is probably over $10,000 already, and so 15 cents is not that big of a deal. Anyway, okay, let's move on to Lightning Network. This is Bitcoin's layer two for fast transactions. We kind of extrapolate out the transaction layer from the base layer, and then you can make cheaper, faster, instant transactions basically on a Lightning Network. This is one way that you could use Bitcoin in a peer to peer way for most transactions. Stand by 1 second. My kids are off school for the day, being a holiday, so they were being loud. Okay. Capacity for this layer two transactions. Yes. So these are going to be the way that you can do cheaper transactions in the future. But this isn't, I would love to see Lightning Network scale and to work. And I think there's a possibility that that happens. And I support all the efforts for Lightning Network. But I don't know. I think there's probably going to be other ways to scale the transactions. So you're not using Bitcoin on chain, like I was saying up here with all these fees. You're going to be using an extracted layer or a derivative layer of Bitcoin. And anyway, so I track this Lightning Network just to see how all of that layer two stuff is progressing. This week, second week in a row that we've seen an increase in Bitcoin capacity on the Lightning Network. And this week we also saw an slight increase in the number of channels. So that's something good. We'll see if this becomes a trend. Right now, I did see that Solana is having a lot of issues with their transactions. Of course, ETH always has problems with their gas fees and other things, and so this is really a time to shine for a Bitcoin layer two, like Lightning Network, if it can get its act together and start providing some value out there for people. Okay, let's move on. That was a snapshot. Let's go into the headlines. Again, guys, I am live streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Telegram. Put your comments down below, and I'll get to them when I see them. So, Inauguration Day. Trump to sign many executive orders day one. Of course, we are past close of business here on Monday. I mean, it was a holiday, so we didn't have business hours today, but we'll see. He only did a few. If I can bring up this website, this is whitehouse.gov/news, and you can see all of the executive orders that he's dropping or signing. And so far, we just have a few. This is the one that was kind of out of the usual, just something about flag etiquette. Let me refresh. Oh, he put his inaugural address in here as well. But yeah, so these are all just very standard. He hasn't started doing his executive order drops yet. These are just standard ones. So we are still waiting for that. Back to the Bitcoin Insider. Trump is the first pro Bitcoin president, but did not mention it in his inauguration address. That is, a lot of people were kind of let down by that, but you know, steady, guys, steady. He's a pro Bitcoin president. He launched his Trump coin. All right. Even though we're kind of against that behavior, he did launch his Trump coin, and he is a pro Bitcoin president, and it's coming. Okay. It sucks that Ross isn't getting freed on day one as of right now, but we will see how that progresses. Um, Hopefully, that is very, very soon. And hopefully, we start getting some clarification on where he's going with the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Okay, that does not necessarily mean he will not issue an executive order today or tomorrow regarding Bitcoin. The thing we are all waiting for is details on his policy about the BSR. The most likely initial policy will be to designate the existing Bitcoin held by the US government, approximately 200,000 BTC, as that reserve. The most simple thing that Bitcoiners are waiting for is the commutation of Ross Ulbricht's sentence. If you're new to Bitcoin, you're probably not if you're watching this, but let's say you're new to Bitcoin. Um, Ross Ulbricht, Silk Road, allegedly, I mean, he is convicted of it, but um, eh, allegedly, I'll still say, Dread Pirate Roberts on the Silk Road, purveyor of that dark market website. And he got, I think, many people think out there in Bitcoin, wrongly convicted. He got held to a different standard than everybody else. And he got 2 life sentences plus other things. And so, kind of way outside of the punishment fitting the crime. He was made an example of. And so, Trump has agreed to commute his sentence and get him out of there. I hope that happens very soon. But anyway, I wrote about this specifically on Forbes, and I linked to it this week. And you can go in there and see, I was saying we will be able to tell about Trump's other promises by what he does with Ross. So he promised to free Ross, and so far he hasn't done it on day one. And so we will see if it happens tonight or tomorrow. We will be able to get an idea of how his other promises will be kept by how he keeps this promise, because this promise is so easy to keep. Anyway, you can check out my piece on Forbes about that. Of course, it is understandable that there are several other points of business that need to be taken care of first. He is in a physically dangerous and politically precarious state as he enters office. Military, border, and anti deep state orders will come first, but then Ross and a Bitcoin policy will hopefully come by the end of the day, today or tomorrow, because he didn't get a full day and it is a holiday in the United States. Another area that most people are discounting is the overturning of the SEC's rule, SAB 121, which prohibits banks from holding Bitcoin for clients. That will end immediately as well, opening up millions or billions of dollars in demand to flow in. The next 48 hours will be wild. And here is his promises that he circulated there right before the inauguration of what he's going to do. So you guys can read that. All right, next headline. More U.S. states to vote on Bitcoin strategic reserves. This week, Bitcoin reserve bills were introduced in Wyoming and Massachusetts. A California state official announced plans to introduce a Bitcoin reserve bill as well. Everything is happening so fast. Even the bluest of states are starting to follow. Soon it will be a stampede. So you can see here, we talked about this last week, but this is a summary newsletter of everything going on in Bitcoin. So I had to include that. All right, next up, FDIC is attempting to destroy evidence in Bitcoin crusade. More on the Operation Chokepoint 2.0 saga. If you are unaware, Operation Chokepoint 2.0 is the now obvious conspiracy against crypto by lawmakers, regulators, and banks. But notice I said crypto. It is not a conspiracy against Bitcoin, even though there was this letter that circulated and leaked that had a reference to Bitcoin transactions. Bitcoin only businesses and Bitcoin miners and all this stuff, they were all left alone. There wasn't any choke point on Bitcoin. The choke point was on the scams industry, and that is the altcoins, that is crypto, that is DeFi, that is meme coins, that is all that stuff. So that's where the Operation Choke Point was. It was not against Bitcoin. The problem I have with it is the extension to Bitcoin. Once again, crypto scammers are trying to include Bitcoin in the target list, which it was really the target. Okay, that typos here. Sorry, guys. In order to get special treatment. So crypto was the target, not Bitcoin, but they wrote Bitcoin in there so that they can, try to say, well, we're like Bitcoin, we're decentralized, when they're not. They're just trying to hide under a Bitcoin umbrella. But we need to separate Bitcoin and crypto because that's where all the scams happen. Bitcoin is unique. Bitcoin is unique. None of these other things are like Bitcoin. They're all centralized. They're all scams, fake promises. And Bitcoin is the only truly decentralized option, decentralized distributed consensus, you could say. And everything else is just a imitation. So we need to separate crypto and Bitcoin because this was Operation Crypto Choke Point. It wasn't Operation Bitcoin Choke Point. Okay. Anyway, this Cynthia Loomis, she came out and said, hey, she got word that they were trying to destroy some documents. So she wants the FDIC to stop that immediately and preserve all documents because they're going to be investigated big time over this. So we will see where this goes. Another thing I'll say is I don't want to see people treated unfairly, but it's really hard to say, look, this is a den of thieves. All right. And now the police are coming in and they're going to try to clean up this den of thieves. Do you feel bad for the thieves just because it's the police that's doing it? That's where, you got to kind of find your own decision. A lot of people in Bitcoin are libertarians or even anarchists, and they don't want state involvement in anything, which I'm very extremely sympathetic to that idea. I understand all the arguments for it, but if you're not supporting that side, then by definition you're supporting the fraud. All right, and the fraud is, in this particular case, probably worse in my opinion. So I can't support any of the crypto scams. Anyways, let's move on. Of course, we now have a pro crypto administration, so the floodgates are opening. Trump weekend drama surrounding the launch of Trump coin, its massive rise and crash, is just an example of what was being prevented by Operation Choke Point 2.0. So you guys saw that Trump coin pumped over the weekend big time, then crashed. Melania coin launched, and then it crashed. So that all that kind of craziness is what was being prevented by Operation Choke Point. But now the floodgates are going to be open, so continue to expect that kind of pump and dump scam. I recommend staying away from that, not even trying to time it, because if you're not an insider, you're not going to be able to time it all that well. And I mean, are you willing to go through all that effort and make a little bit of money? Or because you're not going to want to risk like a large amount of money when you don't have the timing, you don't have the insider timing. So you're going to be putting a little bit of money on the table with, a little gambling and make a little bit of profit. Or do you just want to not worry about it, not waste your time, and just stack Bitcoin as much as you can? That's what I recommend for everybody out there. Okay, next up, Raoul Paul hates on MSTR, and he was destroyed by Pleb Remix. Okay, so this guy, I don't know how he still has a following. He does have that big, he's not Hedgeye. What is he? Real Vision. So he still has Real Vision, and people still give him clout for some reason, but he is just a horrible investor, in my opinion. I saw this in reaction to a recent comments by Raoul dissing on MicroStrategy, who went down the scammer route instead of innovating a Bitcoin-only strategy like Sailor. So he's a little jealous, I think. This video shows just how much a scammer he is. And let's watch this. Let's go ahead and watch this. I'm going to make sure the volume is up. And guys, in the chat, you can tell me. Dex Invictus back with us. What's up? You can tell me if it's too loud, but let's do it.
And I'm going to have a mix of protocols like Cardano, Polkadot for interoperability, I'm going to choose some DeFi stuff. Choose some DeFi stuff. Stuff like Terra Network. You can just put money, stake the net percent, and they're basically risk-free. You can just put money, stake the network, and get 20%, 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 20%. Basically risk-free, basically risk-free, basically risk-free. And everyone tells me I shouldn't do it, so I'm going to do it, which I told you before is a feature of mine. That's the bull market. You shouldn't own Bitcoin because it's going to underperform. And in the bear market, you should own stable coins. So in which case, Why should you ever own Bitcoin?
What's happening with UST price? And Raul, I don't know if you want to pull up a chart too. It's not looking pretty.
I just interviewed Doe this morning, by the way.
Raul, when you hopped into this recording room, UST price was at 98 cents being defended. Do you know what it is right now?
No.
It's 92 cents. Yeah.
And in the bear market, you should own stablecoins.
So that's $1 billion of stablecoin market cap that's gotten erased in the last 30 minutes.
You should own stablecoins. You should own stablecoins. You should own stablecoins. You should own stablecoins.
As I'm monitoring Twitter right now, and the Luna Guard, the Luna Foundation that has the BTC, has just sent their BTC outbound.
And they're basically risk-free, 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 risk-free.
Do you know what it is right now? It's at 92 cents. Yeah.
And they're basically risk-free. I gotta choose some DeFi stuff. You should own stablecoins. I gotta choose some DeFi. Basically risk-free. You should own stablecoins.
Do you know what it is right now?
No.
It's at 92 cents. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So let's go on to macro headlines, guys. I do Bitcoin, I do macro, we do price, we do mining, and if there's layer 2 stuff, we talk about that as well. But let's get into macro. So the end of the globalist order is over, and they know it. So Secretary of State nominee Marco Rubio breaks it down well. You guys can watch this video. We won't watch it right now, but we are heading into a multipolar world. This is what I've been saying for years and years. Soon the world will wake up to the reality that globalization is over and a multipolar world is dawning. This new order will be characterized by other countries having to pay for their own defense and trade. A breakdown in the rules that have governed and made possible globalization, the unipolar world dividend is over. You can also call this a peace dividend or U.S. hegemony dividend. But, the U.S. has hollowed itself out to support this global international order, and it has been corrupted by global Marxists, and now it's ending. Not just because of that, but also because of the gigantic credit bubble that was blown, and it is now deflating. So you guys can check out Marco Rubio. This is being talked about by the top people in the world, the most influential people in the world, and so it is happening. This is what is going to be going on. I know Trump did mention stuff about going to Mars and everything, but a future of greater cooperation is not in the cards. If we go to Mars, it's going to be U.S. only. It's not going to be some sort of international thing. We hear talk, the Europeans say this all the time, that they need more cooperation to meet their goals, whether those are climate goals or economic goals or whatever. They always want cooperation. Well, and anytime you hear that word, just think to yourself, they're operating in the old paradigm. We're going away from cooperation and coordination. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Let's go on to the next one. So Giorgia Meloni, she unleashed, calling for the EU capital to be moved to Rome. And this is a quote, a translated quote, I guess. Rome should be the capital of the European Union, because the capital of the European Union cannot be the most comfortable place to set up offices, but the place that represents its millennial identity. And she has a great power to her voice. Reminds you of other great orators in the past. This is only 23 seconds, so we'll go ahead and listen to this one too.
La capitale d'Italia è Roma! Roma!
Roma.
È Roma la capitale d'Italia, e vi dico di più. Roma dovrebbe essere la capitale dell'Unione Europea, e voglio portare questa rivendicazione nel Parlamento Europeo, perché la capitale dell'Unione Europea non può essere il posto più comodo dove mettere gli uffici, deve essere il posto che rappresenta meglio la sua identità millenaria.
Oh man, she has good breath control. She's got good hands. I mean, it's just, she's got the whole orator package. And I wish she was more influential in Europe because I think she has decent ideas about closing their borders and other things. And this is also kind of thinking outside the box, transferring the EU capital to Rome, whether that was rhetorical or whatnot, that shows a little bit of a vision, a little bit of Trumpian vision in there. You know, we're going to throw this out there and move the Overton window. We're going to change the dialogue here of what we're talking about and control the dialogue. So I think that's very interesting what she's doing. All right, moving on to the next one. Central bank's green push hits a hurdle as Fed drops out. So this is quoting from this Reuters article. A global effort by central banks to join the fight against climate change has hit a major hurdle with the U.S. Federal Reserve's decision to leave the club devoted to policing environmental risk in finance. The Fed said on Friday it would quit the network of greening the financial system because it had broadened in scope, covering a wider range of issues that are outside the Fed's statutory mandate. This should not be a surprise. The climate agenda is one of the global Marxists' only remaining planks. Wall Street / the Federal Reserve has switched sides for now and will not be going along with them. Powell has already said as much back in a statement several years ago. Climate-focused considerations are outside the Fed's mandate. So they are totally stiff-arming not only CBDCs, but they're stiff-arming this idea to use bailouts and other things to forward their climate agenda. So in other words, here's an example. They wouldn't bail out a car company unless they produced mostly EVs or something like that. Or they wouldn't bail out an oil company because they're fossil fuels, right? So, and they're not in their climate agenda. They'll bail out solar companies. They'll do these other things during these financial crises and use this monetary policy to pick winners and losers along the climate agenda. And the Fed said, we cannot do that. That is not in our mandate. Pretty consistent from Powell over the years. And now they're finally withdrawing from this. So I think that's a good thing. All right, that is all from those headlines. We'll go into price now, but I'm going to check and see who's all in here. Raul is a mega grifter. Yep, I totally agree. Luna. Yeah, Terra. He was talking about Terra Luna, 20% risk-free. All right, let's see if there's anything on Telegram. Not seeing anybody here. All right. Okay. If I miss like some EO that drops, guys, put it in the chat and we will cover it immediately. 307 people watching. What's going on, guys? Ansel Linder, Bitcoin and Markets. This is my weekly newsletter. I go through, let me just go up to the top here again. Bitcoin Insider. And I write it every Monday, comprehensive about most of the stuff going on in Bitcoin. And then I live stream it here on Mondays. I also go live usually Wednesday and Friday. Sometimes it's a little bit different, but in the afternoons on Wednesday and Friday. And, you guys can join me, questions, comments. My brand of macro and Bitcoin is a little bit different. I'm on the deflation side of the house, as you might tell from just a few minutes ago when I talked about the end of a 75-year credit bubble, and a regression. So we have this demographic problem. We have a money problem, and all these forces are going to move together. I mean, they all are both cause and effect of each other. And I think that Trumpian kind of national populism is a symptom of the general direction of where the economy is going. So all of these trends are going in one direction, and they'll continue going in that direction, which includes adoption of Bitcoin as a global standard. Okay, let's go down to price now. That was macro. Let's go into price. So last week I said my base case for the week was a recovery towards the all-time high. And here is the chart that I included with a hammer from last week, the week before that on Tuesday. And then talking about last week to now I thought it would go up here to the all-time high by the inauguration. So anyway, 2 weeks ago, I had one of my worst weekly forecasts in a long time, but now this was one of my best forecasts in a long time. We tapped the all-time high prior to the inauguration, and here is a chart showing that last week we were about right down here, and now we moved all the way up, going through the all-time high. Current price right now, let's take a look at that. This chart a little bit. So current price right now, 103,200. It's still looking really strong. Let's see what I put on here. I mean, we can put on some moving averages. That's the 20-day. We're above the 20-day again, and we can do the 50-day in here. So we're having a little bit of a bull cross on the 2050. Let's go back in time and see where that has happened. That wasn't too bullish. It wasn't bearish, though. That was more bearish here back in when is that? July. But okay, so overall, we are above these short-term moving averages. And if we throw the 200-day on here, of course, it's going to be way down below here. So all in all, everything is still completely intact on that. If we bring up the RSI and stuff, daily RSI did not even touch overbought at all. It's really ready to coil. It's coiling right now, and it's ready to break out higher. MACD is expanding, and so that's a bullish position as well. If we bring up some other things like the Ichimoku cloud, which I do talk to my guys on the premium content about this, you can see we have a cross-recross. This is very bullish formation. So this the Tenkin and the Kijun. And as the Tenkin crosses down, that's bearish. But as it crosses back up, that's bullish. We also have lagging price, which is this little guy, above price structure. So that's really good. We have a green cloud, and we're above cloud. So this is very, very bullish for the Ichimoku cloud. If we bring up the TD sequential, we are on a green 8. This is green, not red. It should be green, but so that means we have one more day until the possibility of a cool off, according to this indicator. So that's that. That's the Bitcoin price. So let's go back to the newsletter. Updating the December 2023 through February 2024 pattern that I introduced 3 weeks ago, we are back on track. So last week we were down here looking like this. It was all over, guys. But then we rallied really hard right along this pattern, and we'll see if we can continue up higher. This pattern does imply stopping just under 120,000 for our next pause before we continue higher. So interesting pattern. We'll see about the same time last year is where we take this from. So just incredibly consistent in this section. A little bit of deviation right before the inauguration, but we have caught back up. So we'll see how that continues. One of the most surprising developments over the last 24 hours was the 6% rally in just 21 minutes at 1:30 Eastern time. It was actually 1:35 through 1:56 a.m. So it was 21 minutes long, and it had some impressive volume. This type of move implies a significant buy from where? Man, I did not run this through AI grammar, but yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to say that whales are starting to stake some positions. We can see this. These are 5-minute candles. It was just straight up over 6%, 6.5%. Pretty decent volume here as well. And then we went sideways. Of course, we are down below this now. We are all the way back down here to 102, 103, where we started this big climb. But that was an interesting event overnight here as whales are staking their position. Okay, next part is I wanted to throw in these price predictions here. I did share these with Telegram last week, but most center around 200,000. And you can see here we have Donald Trump, Mark Yusko, Peter Brandt, Bitwise, Bitfinex, Fundstrat, Tim Draper, a bunch of people in here. Of course, American Hodl and Excellion are up here at 1 million, but I wanted to break this down. So the way I do that is I reverse the multiple. So that is for a multiple is every dollar that comes in to Bitcoin, how much does the market cap rise? So, we talk about the inflows of the ETFs. 36 billion came into ETFs in 2024. What happened to the market cap? And then you can see what was the multiple on that. Okay. So back in 2007 or 2017, Bank of America estimated that the multiple was 117x. And I think it might have been 119 or 118. I couldn't remember the exact number, but it's right around there, 117x. But that was at the parabolic move of the bull market. So towards the end, as you're going vertical, it was about $117 of market cap for every dollar of inflows into Bitcoin. So we can make a conservative estimate and say that the average multiple during the bull market was between 20 and 50x. Okay, so we have that number, a $200,000 estimate, which is kind of the mid range of this up here. That is at 200,000. That's a $4.2 trillion market cap, or $1.2 trillion more than today. Dividing by the multiple, we can arrive at what this forecast implies about inflows. So we can see these people are saying 200,000. What kind of inflows are they thinking about for 2025 to get to 200,000? That's what we're trying to do here. So, and that comes out to about 24 to 60 billion, which is nothing. I think we had over 50 billion this year. So it's going to be more during the, extreme phases of the bull market. So I think this is a low estimate. Even assuming the lower multiple of 20, we should expect a much higher price than 200,000. Since there was 36 billion of inflows for the ETFs alone, and that doesn't include MSTR, Tether, miners, and other buyers. As the bull market progresses, the pace of flows should only increase. Therefore, I'm going to estimate 2025 will see between 100 and 200 billion dollars worth of inflows. At 200 billion and a multiple of 20, that means the market cap will increase a minimum of 4 trillion up to 5 trillion. Okay, by the end of 2025. So market cap will go from 1 trillion to 5 trillion. That's a 5x from here. And that doesn't work out, 5x. But I ran the math, and that comes out to $238,000. And that's the low end of the estimate. With a higher average multiple, it will be much higher. At a 50x multiple, that's $11 trillion market cap, or 523,000 at the higher end. So that's kind of reversing this, looking at what does this imply about inflows. And then we can say, well, what do we think the inflows will be? Well, if this year we had 50, next year we'll probably have 100 to 200, 2024 we had 50 or more, maybe up to 75 even. If we have 100 to 200 in 2025, what does that imply for the price? Okay, and so that's all I did on that one. You guys can check my math. I think that was right. Okay, back to this week. My base case for this week is a slow decline in price until a policy is announced by Trump, at which point price should rally towards 120K. A few of my indicators are extremely bullish. I showed you the Ichimoku cloud, and one of them is showing a possible consolidation, and that was the TD sequential. More on that in the premium post. Nothing is signaling a significant pullback in price at the moment, or that price is imminent. Okay, so that's the price section. Let me check comments and see what you guys are saying. If you guys are watching on Twitter, you can jump over to YouTube and Rumble. The links are in my pinned tweet. You can comment there, use the chat. Not seeing anybody. There are 369 people watching. We got a comment. Oh, Joachim. Yep. Joachim is my typo guy. He gets all my typos. I didn't run this through anything, dude. So this is raw right here. This is raw, like one brief read through. That's what we're doing here right now. Okay. Okay, let's go into mining section. So this is mining sector headlines. Michael Saylor and Marathon meet with Trump, aligning with possible Bitcoin reserve. So I included this in the mining section because it was Marathon. Is Marathon the largest public miner? I believe. Anyway, so this week, large U.S. public miner Marathon had a meeting with Trump and Michael Saylor. And you can see this was written up in Crypto Slate. Quoting from the article, Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, and key executives of Marathon Digital, a prominent Bitcoin mining firm, have engaged with representatives of now President Donald Trump's incoming administration. The meeting, held during a reception hosted by Vice President J.D. Vance, who is a Bitcoiner, owns over $500,000 worth of Bitcoin now, signaling potential movement in Bitcoin policy under the new administration. So the things are moving, guys. Just because they didn't come out with anything today doesn't mean they won't come out with anything tomorrow or by the end of the week. So while details of the discussions remain private, industry observers speculate the talks may revolve around advancing Bitcoin mining in the United States. Okay. I think this was a strategy meeting about possible policy around Bitcoin mining. There was a rumor floating around after this that Trump is considering making Bitcoin mining tax-free, but that is unlikely. In my opinion, Bitcoin mining would thrive in a free market. So simply a friendly administration will go a long way to making the U.S. an attractive destination for miners. All right, so that was the only Bitcoin mining headline this week. Hash rate and difficulty. Bitcoin hash rate has backed off this week. However, there was not much time to react to last night's 6% rally. Overall, the hash rate is stable, but slightly down on the week. So you can see the short-term daily moving average here has come down from this all-time high spike, and the 7-day moving average is also coming down. That's why we see a estimated difficulty adjustment negative for this next one. But overall, I mean, it's nothing insane or outside the usual. If this continues as price goes higher, so if hash rate continues to fall off as price goes higher, we must take it as a serious signal that not all is well with the price. The hash rate should confirm price movement. If price is going up, miners should add more hash rate. However, if they are not, if miners are not adding more hash rate, that could be a sign that something deeper in the market is not as it seems. So we will watch that right now. Like I said, nothing to worry about, nothing to get caught up with. But as price goes higher, we should expect hash rate to follow. If it doesn't, there's something else going on that we need to be digging into. Okay, mempool. The mempool has started expanding again. This could signal the start of renewed interest by investors. When new buyers are entering the market, market makers will be sending Bitcoin to exchanges, and new buyers will be taking Bitcoin off of exchanges. The search term traffic for Bitcoin backs this up to a degree. The recent slow search period is now starting to grow again. So here's the mempool. You can see coming down December into now, kind of starting to head higher. And that's what we see here as well, coming down in search volume, and now a little bit of a spike here. So that does confirm that new interest does correlate with a higher mempool. So that is very interesting. All right, in case you missed it, here's some of my recent posts, and that's going to be it. Let's go back up, check if there's any more comments. Not seeing any in the chat box. Let me see on Telegram. Just check this regular one. Nothing. Okay. One more time. Let's check the price and we'll get out of here. 103,600 right now on the nose. Poly market is down to, well, let me share that tab. Poly market is down now to 36% chance in the first 100 days of a Bitcoin reserve. I think that's a lot of money being left on the table right there. And last one, we'll just check one more time on the whitehouse.gov and see if there's any more updates on here. Nothing new updated. All right. Well, back to bitcoinandmarkets.com. Guys, I am live streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, and Telegram. If you're watching on Twitter, jump over to the YouTube or Rumble, like, comment, subscribe over there. I'd very much appreciate it. Help grow the channel, get up to that 1,000 subscriber mark to get monetized on YouTube. Also, bitcoinandmarkets.com. That's where you find all my work. My writing has been a little bit slower recently, but I am putting out the weekly newsletter and still going to be putting out a lot of blog posts. So make sure you're subscribed to the free level at bitcoinandmarkets.com. And if you want to support my content, you can do so there as well. So thank you guys for joining me. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.